Hey everybody, it's Mark, Dr. Deadwax, and I'm back for day 7 of the Inbox Challenge. Today's numbers were picked by Astro Safari. Jeff, I believe is his name. There'll be a review today. I do have cats sleeping over here. I think you can see one of them there. That's Lithis, she's out cold. But they might come join us. Really weird selection of records pulled today. Let's just get started. First is Canned Heat, Human Condition. This was the last Canned Heat record with Bob the Bear Height. Well, the last record where all the songs are with Bob the Bear Height. He died during the making of the next one. This is on the Tacoma label. What can I say about this record? It's, standard blues, rock and blues kind of thing. Wouldn't say I'm a fan of Canned Heat. Don't really know a lot about their music. Just kind of buying this kind of rock and blues stuff to explore it a little. I've bought one other before. I showed it a long time ago. The Historical Figures and Ancient Heads, or something like that. It's called. This is a better record than that. This record has the songs are better. It's not brilliant. I'll keep it for now. Might get rid of the other Canned Heat record. I think I only need one example. I'll probably make my way to Hooker and Heat at some point. Of note on this, Harvey Mandel plays, but he's not listed on the cover, but a Rose Mandel is listed on the cover as playing. So maybe he couldn't be listed on there for contractual reasons. Next is Smokin O.P S, Bob Seger, and of course this is from the Lenny collection. So thanks, Lenny. This is probably the most interesting record Deadwax wise today. This is on Reprise Palladium. So initially this record was released on Palladium, which is, I believe, the label owned by Skip Snape, who was kind of his producer, musical partner in the early years. Now, when this record, this cover says it's on Palladium, but when you look at the back, it does have Reprise. When this was released on Palladium, the catalog number was P1006. Here, the catalog number is MS2109. So P1006 was the Palladium release. After this record came out, I think he was signed to Reprise, but still recording for Palladium. Palladium was then subsequently distributed by Reprise, and they re-released this record, and that's why we have this, because the first Palladium label looks like the Palladium logo, but in red, soft red, and white, and it's really cool. It's kind of Art Deco looking. So this is a second pressing. More to say that it's a second pressing is the MS-2109 is scratched into the Deadwax as opposed to the P1006. So they cut a new plate, Reprise cut a new plate when they released their version of this record, and they didn't use the old Palladium plate because somewhere on here, at least scratched out, there would have been the P1006 Deadwax. Further that it's a Reprise is all Reprise records have numbers on them below the catalog number, which seems almost to be like a plate number in a way, or a master registry number, and you can see it there. It's like 31490, and on the other side it says 31491. So in the Deadwax it says 31490-1 and 31491-1, which is the first plate of each of those numbers. So here we have kind of an interesting record because it reveals kind of how a reissue might be done. Also on here, for the first time that I've ever seen, it says mastering by Frankfurt/Wayne Fila for Frankfurt Wayne Mastering out of Philadelphia. Later, Frankfurt Wayne Mastering expanded to a second location in New York City. Later after that, the original guys retired and the company was taken over by the daughter of one of the guys. and then the Philadelphia plant closed, but the New York plant is, or the New York office is still in business today, still mastering vinyl and still mastering CDs. So this record is from 1972. What are we, 40 years later? That's the math, right? And has the inside liner notes with more reprise lost leaders. These ones were called the Big Ball, Schlagers, Songbook, Record Show, Hot Platters, and the whole Burbank catalog. And because it's a Lenny, and I've shown the Lennys before, of course the back, he had to make sure that nobody stole the liner, the inner sleeve. So Lenny was here, and here, and here, and here, and here. Lenny had issues, man. Lenny had issues like a box of tissues. So this and the Human Condition record I got from the same place. I can't remember what I said before I paid for these Lenny records from this place, but I think they were 72 or 82 cents. I mean, you really, 85 cents maybe? You really can't go wrong for 85 cents. Both of them play really good. The hit off of Rockin' O.P.'s was a cover of If I Were a Carpenter, because, sorry, Smokin O.P S, because this is like a take on a Lucky Strike package of cigarettes, and Smokin O.P S is a term that means you're smoking other people's cigarettes, and this is kind of like he was singing O.P.s, because all the songs on here except for two at the very end are covers of other people's stuff. So If I Were a Carpenter was a cover, and that was released when this was released by Palladium. When the record was re-released a year later by Reprise, the Bo Diddley song was released as the single. Next up is Ole Coltrane on the Atlantic label. This is John Coltrane's last record for Atlantic. He'd already signed with Impulse, pretty sure it's Impulse, yeah. But he had one more date that was due. He'd actually recorded, I believe, a date for Impulse live at the Village Vanguard, but he had to do one last record for Atlantic. This is on the green and orange Atlantic label. There's nothing, just a standard mixer code. This is a 1976 reissue of the record, so kind of technically a second pressing. It has what I believe is ATGP for George Piros in the Deadwax. It might be ATCO, but I'm pretty sure it's ATGP. It's really hard to read. So, sounds great. It's a great record. It's Coltrane's, some say, answer to Miles Davis's Sketches of Spain, because it's modal and it has Spanish themes to it. Spanish and African themes, but of note, well, the players on here are John Coltrane, George Lane, Freddie Hubbard, McCoy Tyner, Reggie Workman, Art Davis, and Elvin Jones. Now, who is, hell of a lineup, right? Who is George Lane? George Lane is Ornette Coleman, because he couldn't contractually play on this record, so he had to use another name because he was tied to Prestige at the time. Excellent record. My kind of jazz. Some people love Coltrane when he gets really far out there. Most people, I'd say, like Coltrane when he gets really far out there. I like him when he's a little bit more like this. So this is a great record, and it's in perfect condition. I can't. Has one of those bumps. I don't know if you ever see a little bump in the vinyl that's from manufacturing, and quite often when the needle goes over it hums like. And this one, it didn't, so I got really lucky. I couldn't leave it. It was $7, or $8. I'm not going to leave. And it's a '76 reissue, but it's analog, so there's no way I'm leaving a nice analog pressing of a Coltrane record I don't have. Next is Donald Byrd Caricatures on Blue Note. This is on the late Blue Note White B label, and this is the first Blue Note record I've ever seen without Van Gelder and the Deadwax. This has the Artisan logo, which I've talked about before, which is a circle within a circle with two drumsticks across it that kind of looks like the letter A. And it's really strange that it has the Artisan logo on it, because on the back of the record it clearly says it's mastered at the mastering lab, Hollywood, California. So it should actually say TML dash whatever, like dash master, slave, or X, MS or X. It should TML dash MS or X, not the Artisan logo. So I don't quite know what's going on here. This is not, what is this, Donald Byrd? Like, this is not Ethiopian Nights. This is like his funk stuff, like his, this is like P-Funk meets smooth jazz with covers of like Dancing in the Street, and there's a song called Science Function. It's like disco funk, smooth jazz. It's not Ethiopian Nights. Ethiopian Nights was like 3 or 4 years before this. This is only like 1976. This is his last album for Blue Note, and this is just such a mediocre record. If it was done, playing on this record is super tight, like not taken away from the musicianship, but just the gloss of it all is just too much. If it had been done by somebody else, it'd probably be a great album, but because it's done by Donald Byrd, I think it's kind of meh. But it's Blue Notes, so I'm keeping it because I'm chasing the dragon on those Blue Notes. And the last record here is Kid Creole and the Coconuts. I too have seen The Woods, and this is from 1987. Big fan of Kid Creole back when I was in high school, which was about the time this record came out. And this is on the Yellow Sire label. The liner notes say that it was mastered by Robert Ludwig at Masterdisc. It doesn't say that in the Deadwax. The Deadwax says Masterdisc SP and then a code, and it's direct metal master. So I haven't seen any of those. Yeah, I'm not sure it's mastered by Robert Ludwig, but it is mastered at Masterdisc. And so that plate would have been sent to Canada because this is a Canadian pressing. Typical Kid Creole. It's got that wonderful fusion of sound that Kid Creole was known for, that was kind of slightly zydeco, slightly funky, a little bit like Prince meets Cab Calloway, quirky, lovely layered textures of horns and female vocals, and interesting, sometimes political lyrics that are always presented in a kind of upbeat manner. I really like Kid Creole, and Kid Creole, doing the research, he's still going today. He's the only one left from this era. There's nobody else left from this era, but he's still at it, and he's still making music, and he's still touring the odd time, and he's put like a whole other band together. Like, some people have been with him like 15 years since from like 2000, 1998. But anyway, those are today's records. Kid Creole, which is pretty good. I'm going to hang on to that. The Donald Byrd, which by Ethiopian Nights. If you like funk, buy some really good funk. This classic modal Coltrane, love it. Just absolutely love it. Smokin O.P S, pretty good Bob Seger album. Another for the Lenny collection, just for the Lenny alone. And Canned Heat, better than the other Canned Heat. Canned Heat really isn't working for me. That's it for today. Have a great day and keep the record spinning.